Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Alex's English Podcast. I'm Alex, and I'm so glad you're here with us today.
Hi, I'm Sophia. Today we have a very important topic for all English learners: how to learn vocabulary effectively. Vocabulary is like the building blocks of a language. Without enough words, it's hard to speak or understand English well.
Yes, many learners tell me they want to learn more words, but it feels difficult. They forget words quickly or don't know how to use new words in sentences. It can be frustrating and confusing.
That's true. Learning new words is not easy. There are so many words in English, and some of them look or sound similar. It's normal to feel overwhelmed or lost, but don't worry. Today we will share useful tips and tricks to help you remember words better and use them naturally.
Exactly. The good news is, learning vocabulary is a skill, and like any skill, it can be improved with the right methods and practice. You don't have to memorize hundreds of words at once. Small steps every day will help you a lot.
I love that idea. Instead of trying to learn all words, you can focus on words that you need or see often. When you learn words in groups or themes, it's easier to remember and use them.
Yes, learning vocabulary by topic is one of the best ways. For example, if you like cooking, learn food words and kitchen words first. If you travel, focus on words about airports, hotels, and directions. When words are connected, your brain remembers them better.
Another common problem is not reviewing new words regularly. It's normal to forget words after a few days if you don't use them. That's why we will talk about how to review words smartly so they stay in your memory for longer.
Also, many learners learn words without context. They just memorize a list of words and their meanings. But words are easier to remember when you see or use them in sentences or stories. That's why we will give tips on how to learn words with examples and real-life usage.
And don't forget, practicing speaking and writing with new words helps a lot too. When you use new words in your own sentences, your brain makes stronger connections. This helps you remember better and speak more confidently.
Finally, we'll share some good habits to keep learning vocabulary every day without feeling tired or bored. Learning is fun when you have a plan and use different ways to study.
So if you want to improve your English vocabulary, feel more confident using new words, and enjoy learning, stay with us. This episode is made just for you.
You're listening to Alex's English Podcast. Let's start discovering the best tips to learn vocabulary faster and smarter. Now, let's talk about our first tip for learning vocabulary better. Learn words by topic.
Yes! When you study words that are related, it's easier to remember them. For example, if you want to travel, learn words about airports, hotels, and transportation all together.
Imagine learning 10 words about food one day, then 10 words about clothes another day. Your brain organizes them better because they belong to the same group.
Right. This way, when you go to a restaurant, you remember the food words quickly because you learn them together. It's more natural than learning random words from different topics.
And when you learn words by theme, it helps you use them in real life. For example, if you learn travel words, you can practice speaking about your trip or ask questions at the airport.
It also saves time. Instead of learning many unrelated words that you might never use, you focus on words that match your goal.
Yes, like if you work in an office, learn vocabulary about business, emails, meetings, and phones. This helps you communicate better at work.
Another good thing is that when you see or hear words from a topic again and again, your brain remembers them more easily. This is called repetition in context.
For example, if you watch videos about cooking, you hear the same cooking words over and over. This helps you remember and understand them better.
You can make your own vocabulary lists by topic. Use a notebook or an app. Write new words about a subject, and add their meaning and example sentences.
Then review these lists regularly. Every week, pick a topic and go over the words you learned before. This helps you keep the words in your memory.
And don't forget to practice. Try to use new words when you speak or write. For example, after learning travel words, talk about your dream trip with a friend or write a short story.
Yes, using words in sentences helps your brain connect the word with meaning and situation. It makes your learning stronger and more practical.
So, to sum up, learning vocabulary by topic helps you remember words better and use them more naturally in daily life. It organizes your learning and matches your needs.
Great! Let's try it today. Pick a topic you like, find 10 new words, and start learning. Next time, we'll share more tips to make vocabulary learning even easier. Now that we talked about learning vocabulary by topic, let's move to another very useful tip, using flashcards.
Yes, flashcards are a simple and powerful tool for learning words. You can make flashcards yourself or use apps on your phone.
The idea is to write the English word on one side of the card and the meaning or a picture on the other side. This helps you practice both recognition and recall.
For example, if you learn the word apple, you write apple on one side, and on the back you can write a round red or green fruit, or draw a small picture of an apple.
When you look at the card with the English word, try to remember the meaning. When you look at the meaning or picture, try to say the English word out loud.
This way, your brain learns to connect the word with its meaning and pronunciation. It's much better than just reading a list of words and meanings.
Another important thing is to review your flashcards regularly, not just once. That's where a special method called spaced repetition comes in.
Spaced repetition means you review your flashcards many times, but with increasing time gaps between reviews. So you might review new words after 1 day, then 3 days, then a week, and so on.
This method helps your brain remember the words for a long time. It's like watering a plant regularly, but not every minute.
You can use apps like Anki or Quizlet, which help you organize flashcards and remind you when to review each card based on spaced repetition.
But if you prefer paper, you can do it manually. Keep your flashcards in a box, and every few days, review some cards more often and others less often based on how well you remember them.
When you see that you remember a word well, you can review it less often. If a word is hard to remember, review it more often until it becomes easier.
Flashcards are also very handy. You can take them anywhere, on the bus, during a break, or while waiting in line. This way, you use small free moments to learn.
And don't forget to speak the words out loud when you review. This will help improve your pronunciation and make the word feel more real.
So to summarize, flashcards help you learn vocabulary actively by testing yourself, and spaced repetition helps your brain keep the words longer.
If you haven't tried flashcards yet, start today. Make a small set with words from your favorite topic and review them every day for a week. You'll be surprised how much you remember.
Great! Next, we will talk about how to use new words and sentences so they become part of your active vocabulary. Stay tuned. Now that you know how to use flashcards and review words regularly, let's talk about another very important tip. Learn new words in context by making sentences or short paragraphs.
Yes, learning words one by one without context can be confusing. You might remember the meaning, but forget how to use the word in a real sentence.
For example, if you learn the word excited, it's not enough to know it means very happy or enthusiastic. You also need to know how to use it.
Right. So instead of just memorizing the word, try to make a sentence like, I am very excited to travel to Japan next month.
Writing or saying sentences with new words helps your brain connect the word to a situation. It also shows you the correct grammar and word order.
When you learn words this way, you remember better, because your brain understands the full meaning, not just a dictionary definition.
Another good idea is to make short paragraphs or stories using your new vocabulary. For example, write about your day and use new words you learned recently.
Or you can speak to yourself or a friend using those words in sentences. For example, yesterday, I was very excited because I met a new friend at the park.
Practicing speaking with new words helps you feel more confident. It also trains your mouth and tongue to say the words naturally.
Some learners also like to record themselves saying sentences with new words. Later, they listen and check if they can improve their pronunciation or fluency.
If you don't know how to make sentences, you can use simple templates or look at example sentences in dictionaries or language apps.
And remember, it's okay if your sentences are simple or not perfect. The goal is to use the words actively, not just passively remember them.
The more you use words in sentences, the more automatic they become in your mind. This will help you speak and write more naturally.
So to summarize, don't just memorize words alone. Always practice making sentences or short stories with new words. This is a key step to remember and use vocabulary well.
Great advice. Next, we will talk about how to use new words in your daily speaking and writing. This will make your vocabulary learning even stronger. Now that you've learned how to make sentences with new words, the next step is very important. Use these new words in your daily speaking and writing.
Yes, it's one thing to learn a word or phrase, but if you don't use it, it's easy to forget. Using new vocabulary every day helps your brain keep the words fresh and strong.
For example, if you learned the word excited, try to say it when you talk to your friends or family. You can say, "I'm excited about the weekend," or "She looks excited today."
You can also try to write short messages, emails, or even social media posts using your new words. Writing helps your memory because you think carefully about how to use the words.
Even if your sentences are simple, that's okay. The important thing is to practice. The more you use words, the more natural they become.
Sometimes learners are shy or afraid to make mistakes when speaking. But making mistakes is part of learning. The more you try, the faster you improve.
You can also practice with a language partner or join online English groups to practice speaking. Use your new vocabulary as much as possible.
Another great way is to keep a daily journal or diary. Write about your day using new words. It doesn't have to be long, just a few sentences.
This way, you use the words in your own life. It makes learning meaningful and fun.
So remember, learning words is not just about memorizing. It's about using them in real situations. Speaking and writing are the keys to remember words long term.
Great! Next, we will talk about how to hear and see your new words again and again, which helps you remember even better. Stay tuned. Now that you've practiced using new words in speaking and writing, another great way to remember vocabulary is by hearing and seeing those words again and again.
Yes, this means listening to English audio and reading English texts where your new words appear naturally. When you see or hear a word many times, it sticks in your memory much better.
For example, if you learn words about travel, watch travel videos, or listen to travel podcasts in English, you'll hear those words used in different ways and situations.
Reading is also important. Try reading simple stories, news articles, or blogs about topics you like. When you see new words in context, you understand them better.
The key is repetition in real contexts. Your brain will connect the word with meaning, feeling, and situation, so it's easier to remember.
And the more you enjoy what you listen to or read, the more motivated you'll be to keep going. Choose materials you find interesting or fun.
You don't have to understand every word. It's okay to guess meaning from the context. Over time, your vocabulary and understanding will improve naturally.
Try to listen or read a little every day. Even 10 or 15 minutes is helpful. Consistency is more important than long sessions.
Also, when you hear or read new words, try to write them down or add them to your flashcards. This way, you practice active learning.
So, to summarize, listening and reading help you meet your new vocabulary many times. This repetition helps your brain keep the words longer and understand how to use them.
Exactly. Next, we will talk about the importance of writing down and reviewing your vocabulary regularly. This will complete your learning cycle. Stay tuned. Now, let's talk about one last but very important tip to learn vocabulary effectively. Write down and review your words regularly.
Yes, when you learn new words, it's easy to forget them if you don't review. Writing them down in a notebook or an app helps you organize your learning.
For example, you can keep a vocabulary notebook with new words, their meanings, example sentences, and even pronunciation notes. This makes it easier to study later.
You should also review your notebook often. Review every day if you can, or at least a few times a week. The more you review, the stronger your memory becomes.
Many learners find it helpful to set a specific time for review, like 10 minutes every morning or evening. Making it a habit keeps your vocabulary fresh in your mind.
You can also use apps that remind you to review your vocabulary using spaced repetition. These apps help you focus on words that are harder to remember.
Another idea is to test yourself regularly. Cover the meanings and try to remember the words. Or cover the words and try to remember the meanings. This active recall is very effective.
And don't be afraid to add new example sentences or drawings to your notes. Personalizing your vocabulary notebook makes learning more fun and meaningful.
So, to summarize this part, writing down your words and reviewing them regularly is key to moving new vocabulary from short-term memory to long-term memory.
That's right. If you combine all these tips, learning by topic, using flashcards, making sentences, practicing daily, reading and listening, and reviewing regularly, your vocabulary will grow faster and stronger.
Great! Now you have many tools to improve your English vocabulary. Keep practicing every day, and you will see results. Now that we've talked about many useful vocabulary learning tips, let's finish with some important advice to help you learn better and keep going.
The first and most important advice is to be patient with yourself. Learning new words takes time. Don't try to learn too many words at once. It's better to learn a few words well than many words you forget quickly.
Yes, many learners feel pressured to memorize hundreds of words in a short time. But this often leads to frustration and giving up. Instead, set small goals you can reach easily and celebrate your progress.
This is where setting smart vocabulary goals is really helpful. Remember, your goals should be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. For example, you can say, I will learn 5 new words every day for 2 weeks. It's a clear and manageable goal.
That's right. Setting the right goal helps you stay motivated and avoid feeling overwhelmed. If you feel tired or stressed, it's okay to slow down or take a short break. The important thing is to keep learning consistently.
Another great advice is to use different methods to learn vocabulary. Don't stick to just one way. Try flashcards, making sentences, listening to podcasts, reading stories, and speaking with friends.
Yes, mixing different ways helps your brain remember words better. When you see, hear, say, and write a word, it becomes part of your memory much faster.
And it also keeps your learning interesting. Doing the same thing every day can get boring, but changing your activities makes it fun and exciting.
The last advice is to build a daily habit of learning vocabulary. Even if you have just 5 or 10 minutes a day, doing it every day is very powerful.
Creating a routine helps you learn without thinking too much about it. For example, you can learn new words every morning with your breakfast, or review flashcards before going to bed.
When you make learning vocabulary a habit, it becomes part of your lifestyle. It's no longer a task, but something you enjoy.
So, to summarize, be patient and don't rush, set smart goals, use different learning methods, and build a daily routine. These 4 tips will help you learn vocabulary effectively and happily.
That's right. Learning vocabulary is a journey, not a race. Take your time, keep going, and you will see amazing progress.
We hope these tips will help you on your English learning journey. Remember, every new word you learn is a step closer to speaking English with confidence.
Thank you for listening to Alex's English Podcast. Keep practicing, stay curious, and see you in the next episode. We've come to the end of today's episode about learning vocabulary effectively. Let's quickly review what we talked about.
Sure. First, we said it's best to learn words by topic, like food, travel, or work. This helps your brain remember and use words more easily.
Then, we talked about using flashcards. Writing words and meanings on cards and reviewing them regularly with spaced repetition helps you keep words in your memory longer. Then, we talked about using flashcards. Writing words and meanings on cards and reviewing them regularly with spaced repetition helps you keep words in your memory longer.
Next, we said it's important to make sentences or short stories with new words. This way, you learn how to use words correctly in real life.
After that, we encouraged you to use new words in your daily speaking and writing. The more you use them, the stronger your memory and confidence become.
We also talked about listening and reading a lot. When you hear or see words many times, your brain remembers them better, and you understand how to use them naturally.
And don't forget to write down your new words and review them often. Keeping a vocabulary notebook or using an app helps organize your learning and keeps you on track.
Finally, we shared some general advice. Be patient, set small and clear goals, use different learning methods, and build a daily habit.
Remember, learning vocabulary is not about speed, it's about steady progress. Small daily steps will take you far.
So don't give up if you forget words or if learning feels hard sometimes. Keep practicing, and your vocabulary will grow bit by bit.
Now here's your challenge. Choose one tip from today's episode and start using it right now. Maybe you want to make flashcards, or write sentences with new words, or listen to English every day.
Try it for 1 week. Write down what you did and how you feel. Notice any improvements in your memory or confidence.
Sharing your small successes helps you stay motivated and proud of your progress.
Thank you so much for joining us on Alex's English Podcast. We hope today's episode helps you learn vocabulary more easily and happily.
Keep practicing, keep believing in yourself, and see you next time.